Hi everyone. After doing all the readings and listenings for this week, I think they all sort of came together really well to do this case study. I have case study number 3, and this is a case where I have a patient with bulimia who's been working with this team for 1 year, and she's been working really hard and made some progress, but I am a little weary of how it slowed down. So her behavioral recovery is not moving along as fast as I think maybe it should. She works with her therapist and her doctor as well. And they do a combination of DBT and CBT, and she's also on an SSRI for her depression. Um, I would like to implement some intuitive eating principles into her recovery since she has been struggling a lot with a restrict and binge cycle, and her team disagrees with me. So as far as the concept that needs to be addressed, I think that there is a lack of trust in this team. Um, I think that trust is super important, that the clinician and the doctor and the therapist trust me to be the food and nutrition professional and trust me to decide if intuitive eating is going to help her progress further. And of course, conversations about my rationale for that are always welcome, but I would trust the therapist to decide if CBT and DBT are correct for her, and I would trust the medical professional to determine if she should be on an SSRI. So I would sort of want the same trust in my decision for implementing intuitive eating. Um, and I think that that goes along with one of the dysfunctions of this team, which is an absence of trust. I think that her progress has slowed to a point where something else is probably needed, and that thing could be intuitive eating. So I should be given the freedom and trust to try that, and we should all work together to see if that ends up working for her. On this team, I would address this issue by sitting down with the therapist and her doctor and discussing the reasons why I think that intuitive eating could really work. One of the other issues with this team is that they believe that she should not gain any more weight, that her weight is normal, so that's healthy. Um, I disagree because she's still ignoring her hunger cues by restricting and then binging. So, from hearing that from them and then hearing from me, let's try this thing where you're probably going to eat significantly more, she thinks that that's going to lead to weight gain, which at this point she's not hearing from other professionals is appropriate. So I would sit down and talk to the rest of the team and talk about how we need a united front. And if she's hearing from one of us that her weight is fine, then that's going to feed into her eating disorder. And she is not going to want to try something like intuitive eating where she is probably going to end up eating more if she's tapping into more of her hunger cues. Um, And to make the team more effective, I would, again, just talk to them about trust and that as a nutrition professional, I would really like to try this intuitive eating approach, and then we can revisit it. And the goal from all of us is recovery. So definitely just discussing what our specific goals for her recovery are again and make sure that we're all on the same page would be helpful. And my personality style is INFJ, which on 16 personalities is the mediator. So one of the challenges would be, I believe in a very like equal approach. So it may be challenging for me to hear that maybe my opinion is not being valued as much. That the other professions on the team sort of think that they are better suited to determine her treatment plan than I am. And then also, as a mediator, I do not like conflict. So, a situation like this where I am bringing a conflict to the table would be challenging for me, and opening up an opportunity to get criticism, which also my personality type does not like. But as we learned in all of the interviews, conflict is definitely not a bad thing on a team as long as you do it appropriately. So, that's something I would have to be aware of. that conflict is okay and I shouldn't shy away from it, especially in a situation like this where we really need to talk something out. So I look forward to reading or listening to all of your videos, and yeah, see you guys next week.